All right. So I was out doing some wheeling and dealing, and traded a guy. I just finished. You saw a past video where I had a John Deere 155C that I was working on, and got it all fixed up, and then started trading off with this guy. But let me show you what I got. So I swapped him for this Suzuki Carry 4-wheel drive off-road farming mini truck. And I had to go get a bigger trailer. My little one over there was just not quite enough, you know what I mean? The wheelbase it would have got on there, but it would have been overhanging on the trailer, and it was probably about 500 pounds over the suggested maximum weight. So to be on the safe side, I just went and got this little trailer, 6x12. But yeah, I might have to trade that one off, swap somebody. 6x12 is a nice size. But here we go. This Suzuki, it does need a little work. Apparently, from what I got it, the guy, it was his grandfather's out on their property, and his grandfather drove it around for a while, but it's been sitting in their barn for 2 years or so, and he said the gas is real bad, it won't even start, but he did put new tires on it, luckily. Looks like we got some new tires all the way around. There's no battery, so I need to get one hooked up and see what works and what doesn't. This one, the sides and the back, you know, they flop down, but it is not a dump bed. It doesn't dump off. There's no hinges or anything on the rear. You could probably convert it pretty easy, but and it is a right-hand drive, and the interior is a little worse for wear. The battery looks like it's been conked out for a while. One of the seats, I don't know if you can see it in there, has a burn mark on it, and but everything else, you know, just needs a little TLC. You know, it's one of those things where what's up, kitty? He's got to inspect everything. Yes, sir. So hopefully it's one of those things, you know, once I drain the gas, and like I said, a lot of TLC on it, but I think it will probably run pretty easy. These things are actually pretty reliable. But they're kind of fun, you know, 4-wheel drive. And I've seen a lot of guys that, you know, they put lift kits on it and all that stuff. Something like a 2-inch or a 4-inch lift is pretty common. Then bigger tires, of course, and you know, setting up for hunting, they, you know, put the bed coating on the inside, and you know, paint them up and all that good stuff for either just to run around on the ranch or go for deer hunting and stuff like that. So that's probably what I'll do with it. Once I get it all cleaned up and running, I'm going to start modifying it up a little bit. But the next step, I need to get this back into my yard. Are you ready? 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 Yeah, good girl. You ready again? Ready? Good girl. Alright, so I have this little project ahead of me. We got it unloaded off the trailer and pulled it with one of that Cub Cadet. Well, it's underneath the cover there. But that Cub Cadet's just freaking awesome. It pulled this thing with no problem. But anyway, so here it is. It's definitely well used. A few dents here and there. Has new tires, but everything else is just really, really old. This has got to be a pre-1990. It's probably in the late 80s. And I started looking everything up. Under here under the seats, and there's the engine. So there's the tag that I'm researching, the chassis number and what engine's in it and all that good stuff, and so far I'm confirming it's got to be under. It's a pre-1990 probably. The guy was telling me it was a 95, and it just wasn't getting fuel, right? Oh, just, clean the carburetor, blah, blah, blah. But I started digging into everything. I mean, all this stuff is old, and that's fine. I'm going to use this to beat around in. It's four-wheel drive. It doesn't have a low and a high, I don't think. This is just strictly just a two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And it has an axle lock. Now, I'm not sure how that differs, if what they're calling an axle lock or a locking differential on the rear. I'll have to look that up and see. Radio shot, all that stuff is just shot, and I'm gonna have to be very careful with this dash when I start working with the electronics and stuff. It's very old and brittle, it seems like. There was no battery in it, and I hooked up my jumper on it yesterday, I believe it was, before it rained, and the engine was having a really hard time turning over. It would just go in little notches, just pop, 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 when I'm pumping the ignition. And got it turned over a couple of times, but I decided, okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm probably gonna have to get in there and try to lube everything up. This thing has been sitting for a long, long time. All the radiator hoses, you can hear it cracking, hear all that. So, and there's one on the other side that just completely deteriorated off. But at least the starter's good. I'm assuming the alternator's good. The carburetor, just cleaning it out. But the biggest thing, so you have access here, underneath both seats. Yeah. I'd already unlatched them. So there's the starter solenoid. Or is that the ignition coil? That's the coil. Here's the spark plugs. I'm probably going to have to take this valve cover off and lube everything up. There's oil in it. I did check that, but it probably hasn't run in many, many, many years. And given the condition of the hoses, I hope the radiator hasn't rusted through anywhere. So yeah, there's just a lot to look over. The radiator, the water pump, everything on the engine. I'm not sure if this has an air conditioner or not. It just shows cool and hot. Your basic temp controls there. But for what I'm going to do with it, I guess as long as it has a heater, if I take it out to the deer lease and run around with it out there. Biggest thing that disappointed me there's the distributor. The distributor cap and rotor and all that stuff is missing, and the guy played stupid on that when I contacted him later. He goes, oh, what are you talking about? So yeah, so there's just a lot of work to be done, and these parts are quite expensive. I started looking up online, and I guess all the parts, you know, they're having to ship them in from Japan, and you know, they're not mainstream, so the cost is actually pretty high. I mean, just for a distributor cap and rotor, I think it'll cost you $50 or $60 after shipping. But this one, I'm going to take a good look at it and see if the points are still good. Yeah, see, they're not frozen, but I think I need to get some WD-40 in there and clean all this stuff out and clean off the point there. And that might be all it needs, I hope. You know, I'll get a distributor and a rotor on order and see if they have the radiator hoses too. Replace all that. But the more I look at it, it's like, well, it still has possibilities, right? It's going to need a lot of work, but I think it's going to be okay. The frame's in okay shape. It's not rusted through. Well, there's a rust hole on the muffler there. See that? Right there. Wonder if a mouse worked its way in there. There's the spare tire. Yeah, everything else in the suspension seemed pretty solid. You know, I was bouncing around in it, and so I just hope the transmission and transfer case and everything's working okay. I'll just check all the fluids, lube up what I can, and see if I can get the engine cranking again. And later on, of course, after I get everything running and get all the electricals fixed, then I'll look into putting a lift kit on it and all that good stuff. 2-inch lift kits, 2 and 4-inch lift kits are pretty common on these. That'd be kind of fun. Electronics wise, you know, the hazards works, the turn signals works. I think it was this headlight worked and this one didn't. It looks new, so it's probably just some cables back there. I'll have to look at the windshield wiper motor. I don't think that was working. I have my my jumper charging again. I used it all up when I was testing everything out. Look at this old cassette. What in the world is that? Cherelle High Priority. Never heard of them. Don't know what that is. So this is going to be a hell of a project. Guess I'll get under here and do the usual. I'll just power wash everything down, and then trying to plan out my plan of attack here. But I was having second thoughts, you know, because I just traded this off. I traded off a riding mower for it. And I started thinking, man, was it really worth it? Was it worth it? That's the big question, because it does need a lot of work. But considering I only had a couple of $100 riding on that John Deere, so basically I still only have $200 invested in this. I'll just have to look at everything. There's the battery box. And there's usually a cover that goes across here and around it. But I'm sure I can, it's kind of a small battery. It looks like a lawn tractor battery, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it was worth it considering that I didn't have a whole lot of money invested in it. But I'm just disappointed the guy just played dumb and didn't tell me all that was going on with this. But I think it'll be fun to work on. So in the future, I'm going to have many more videos coming up as I tackle this project. And the first thing I'm going to do probably is, you know, get the distributor cap. Get the distributor going, maybe the heater hoses, the stuff that it just needed obvious replacement, and see if I can get the engine running. And then I'll work on the electrical side of it. And after that is just all the add-ons. If I redo the interior or add a stereo or you know, lift kit and all that good stuff, that'll come later. But I guess the first need is to get that engine running. Yeah, so this was just a quick intro video to this big project going on. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I've never owned one of these before. I've seen them, you know, I've seen them online, and I think I've seen one off-road before, and but that was about it. But in some states they're quite popular. Here in Texas, no, because they are strictly not street legal. They have no, I mean, they're strictly off-road. They don't have any limitations on it at all, as far as, you know, in some states you can go and you just have to stay off the highways. Other states, 55 and under, 45 and under, stuff like that. I think there's a few that you can take them on dirt roads, but not on paved roads. But here in Texas, it's strictly on private property, off-road, you know. And that's too bad, because they are kind of neat little vehicles, but that's probably what I'm going to do with it anyway. I'm just going to take it out to the ranch and leave it out there. It'll come in pretty handy. And well, that's it for this video. Definitely watch for future videos on this. I'm going to start getting some parts in and start working on it. So it'll be sporadic when I start publishing these videos showing the progress on it. But that's it. So stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe and watch for my next videos.